Hello and welcome to the NFL Experts podcast. I'm your host Louis Debe, and today we're going to be previewing the Week 2 of the NFL season. I'm not joined by Dave Crest today, as he is busy doing some All 32 Access things, so I'm going to take over just for the day. He was on yesterday for the wager, and he'll be back on tomorrow for the Friday Fantasy Focus podcast, first edition, recapping Week 1 and previewing Week 2. A very good game on tonight, and actually about 2 hours, the Jets versus the New England Patriots. I think this is actually going to be a very good game. I think the Jets actually might pull the upset. I don't have them winning this game, though. I have the Patriots winning it. I mean, neither one really had big-time weapons. A sturdy run game for the Patriots. Not as much the Jets, but the Jets have a great defense. Patriots have a very underrated one. I like the Patriots winning this game. Tom Brady's going to steal the win to me. I don't think Geno Smith's going to play as well as he did in Week 1 against a very strong secondary New England. I'm going to skim through some of the Week 1 games. Some of the 1 o'clock games, and go to the more of the marquee matchups. St. Louis versus Atlanta is going to be a very good game. The Falcons are at serious jeopardy of becoming 0-2 at the start of the season. The Rams secondary is great. Janoris Jenkins and Cortland Finnegan are one of the best cornerback pairings in the league. T.J. McDonald's a great young safety, as well as linebackers Alec Ogletree and James Laurinaitis. And then White Thunder, Black Lightning, Chris Long and Robert Quinn. The Rams have a very underrated defense. They could be explosive this year on both sides of the football. I like the Falcons to win this game, though. I think their offense is going to be much more dynamic and more pass-based than it was last week. Steven Jackson had a good game with 77 yards rushing, but really no one on the offense receiving-wise could really pick it up other than Harry Douglas, who had 92 yards. Julio Jones did have a score as well as Tony Gonzalez, but only 17 points is not enough for that electric offense. Cleveland versus Baltimore. I think Baltimore is going to kill them here. I don't think Cleveland is ready. I thought they were going to be a surprise team, but after seeing Week 1, they're going to go right back to being Trent Richardson-based offense. Brandon Whedon's not the right answer. I know that's too much to conclude after 1 week, but that's just my opinion. I think that's how it's going to be. Carolina versus Buffalo is actually probably the hardest game to predict. I think that E.J. Manuel versus Cam Newton is two very similar players. It's going to be really fun to watch. I will actually be attending this game, reporting for all 32 Access and the NFL Experts. I like the Panthers to win this game. I think both very underrated defenses. Luke Kuechly, John Beason, and Tom Davis bring up one of the best linebacking cores in the league, and that front seven is incredible, which will pick up the lack of the weakness of the secondary. Cam Newton only scored 7 points against a tough Seahawks defense, but I expect him to have a much better game, as well as Steve Smith and D'Angelo Williams. It's going to be a low-scoring game because of how well both defenses played in Week 1. I think they'll continue that play over into Week 2. But I kind of like the Carolina Panthers a bit more here to be 1-1. I think the Bills have dropped to 0-2. But Manuel will have another strong performance. I think he's being very underrated as one of the top young quarterbacks in the league. Even though it's only in 1 game, I do think he's going to be one of the best out of them all. Minnesota-Chicago, great divisional matchup. A lot of division matchups early. I like Chicago here over Minnesota. If Christian Ponder can't throw the football, the Vikings aren't going to win football games. It's plain and simple. Not putting anything past Adrian Peterson because I think he's a very good, if not the best player in the NFL. But a running back cannot handle the load for the entire season to carry a team into the playoffs again. It's just not going to happen. Even though they scored a lot of points last week, Ponder threw 1 touchdown. It was a dinky little pass to Adrian Peterson, who scored 3 touchdowns in his season debut. I think Chicago looked really good against Cincinnati, scoring 24 points. I thought they went to Martellus Bennett, hit him in the end zone. Of course, Brandon Marshall got his share of carry receptions like he always does. And Jay Cutler looked pretty good. He's just got to limit the turnovers. The defense is the defense. We know what they're doing, and I'm very confident that Chicago will win this game, start off to 2-0. Which is going to really scare the next team, the Green Bay Packers, if they start off 0-2 against a Washington Redskins team looking to prove something after getting stomped by the Philadelphia Eagles, my Philadelphia Eagles. So I think that Green Bay is going to win this football game, and both teams know they cannot start off 0-2. Looking at on their division, some of these division guys are going to start off 2-0, including maybe Detroit and Chicago. If not, then the Vikings will be 1-1. The Packers need to get this one as well as the Redskins. I think RG3 is going to have a much better game than he did week 1. You could just tell he was rusty. I think against a tough Packers defense, I think he's going to have a great game. I expect Alfred Morris to have a good running game, as well as Eddie Lacy's going to have a big one. LeSean McCoy scored 184 rushing yards. That's in a touchdown against Washington. I think Eddie Lacy can get maybe like 60 to 70 yards and a score as well. Going to Tennessee versus Houston, I think Houston's going to win this game. I just don't think Jake Locker's going to have enough to keep up with that Texans offense. Indianapolis versus Miami is going to be interesting, as last year they had a very good matchup between the two. Very close, with two 2012 first-round picks. Obviously, the first-round pick, Andrew Luck, and then Ryan Tannehill, who was the 8th overall pick for the Miami Dolphins. I mean, I think the Dolphins are very much in it with a great defense. They had a great, strong performance. I mean, Cameron Wake is just incredible. He's just taken that next step and up to the next level. Last week against Cleveland, I think he's going to continue that dominance, as well as Deion Jordan is going to look to beat Andrew Luck again, like he said in his press conference, that he's never lost to Andrew Luck. And so I think, and by the way, I mean, hats off to Chuck Pagano. Has done a great job coaching this team and also rallying them. Andrew Luck off a comeback against the Raiders last week, I thought was big. Both one of these teams looking to start off 2-0 with their young second-year quarterback. I like the Colts in this one. I think they're going to be a very good football team this year. They got to get T.Y. Hilton more involved, though. Only had around 20 yards receiving last week. Not enough. Personally, I believe that it's not enough. Dallas versus Kansas City is a very good game. I think, Alex Smith in that Chiefs offense, as well as Jamal Charles, look great against the Jaguars, but it's the Jaguars. The Cowboys' weakness is covering the deep passes. Alex Smith did not do that last week, throwing it deep. I just don't think that the Chiefs are going to be able to take advantage of that situation. I think Tony Romo is going to have a big game, even though it's going to be a very underscoring game. Russell Wilson had a great game, and it was only 12-7 against the Panthers. I think it's going to be around like that, a low-scoring game, hard-nosed running between Jamal Charles and DeMarco Murray. I like the Cowboys to win this, sadly. The Chiefs will drop to 1-1 in my opinion. You got to get Dwayne Bowe involved, and I just don't think Alex Smith. He didn't do it with Michael Crabtree. I really don't see him doing it with Dwayne Bowe. After being in the league so many years, I don't see him changing. Dwayne Bowe did have around 30 yards receiving, which wasn't bad compared to what he had last year. But I just think Dallas is a better football team, and I think Sean Lee being back is going to be huge for this team throughout the early on and throughout the season if he can stay healthy. This Cowboys team is going to start off 2-0 to a fast start, as well as the Philadelphia Eagles who face San Diego. I think they're going to blow them out of the park in Philadelphia. Now, relax about this whole thing that, the home open, whoever faces the Eagles in their home open wins the Super Bowl. Yes, the past 4 teams have done it. But are you telling me the Chargers are winning the Super Bowl? I don't think so. And I think if Brendan was here, he would say no. If Dave was here, he would say no. No, but the Chargers are winning the Super Bowl, people, okay? Let's just keep that in mind. All right, so I think the Eagles win this game. The Redskins couldn't handle that fast-paced offense, preparing for it for months. How do you think the Chargers in a short week are going to be able to prepare for this fast-paced offense? I'm sorry, I think the Eagles are going to destroy the San Diego Chargers this week. And that defense looked very good. Everybody was talking about, yes, the Eagles' offense is going to look great, but that defense is going to be a mess. They did not look like a mess last week. They made a mess for the Washington Redskins, having a forced fumble where Kendricks recovered, had a safety, 2 interceptions between Kerry Williams and Brandon Boykin. This team's ready to win. And yes, clearly I'm on board as I'm an Eagles fan, but hey, no bias here. Yes, there is. Okay. Detroit versus Arizona is a very good game at 4 o'clock to kick off the 4 o'clock games. Detroit's 1-0, coming off of a big win against a division rival, the Minnesota Vikings. Not so much for the Cardinals, as they lost a close game and a go-ahead field goal for Greg Zuerlein and the Rams to beat the Cardinals in Week 1. But great things in Bruce Arians' first game as head coach for the Arizona Cardinals. I thought Larry Fitzgerald and Carson Palmer's connection was great. 2 touchdowns between the two combined for the connection. Larry Fitzgerald is back to being himself. He just needed a quarterback. This defense is one of the most underrated in the league. Kind of like the Cardinals in this game, with Ndamukong Suh not playing for the Lions, probably. Reggie Bush had a big game, but he's kind of banged up. They need to get Calvin Johnson more involved, as he only had 33 yards receiving last year, and he was on my fantasy team. That didn't really help me out too much. But, I mean, Patrick Peterson versus Calvin Johnson is going to be the key matchup, and this is going to be fun to watch. High-scoring battle to me, in my opinion. I like Detroit to pull out and go 2-0. They are my underrated sleeper pick to make the playoffs. I think they're really being slept on for some reason. And they have a great, to me, a really good team, and I think they're going to continue that. In week 2, Tampa Bay versus New Orleans. I really am not a big fan of Josh Freeman. And watching what you did against the Jets last week, you're not beating the Saints. I mean, they should have won that football game, but they didn't. The Saints are coming off a huge division win against the Falcons. Their defense actually looked very good. Like NFL Network reported, the Saints are playing with more swag. I guess you could say swagger. With the new 3-4 defense, in my opinion. I think the Broncos versus the Giants is going to be a great game, but the Giants coming off of a loss against the Cowboys on Sunday night. The momentum is not on their side with David Wilson struggling, might be benched for this game as they signed Brandon Jacobs again. I like the Denver to have another big game. I think they're going to go after that Giants secondary. Andre Roll said that, I mean, they're going to beat the Broncos, but I just don't see it. I think they're going to drop to 0-2. Peyton Manning's throwing 7 touchdowns in week 1. He's going to continue that. He's going to get Eric Decker more involved. He's going to keep Demaryius Thomas and Welker and Julian Thomas. Expect them to keep doing running back by committee, but to me it actually worked pretty well last week. I mean, around 50 yards rushing a game for the Broncos isn't all that bad. Moreno had 27 rushing yards, Hillman's 21, and then Monty Balls and the teams. I thought they looked great, and I think they're going to continue that against the Giants, in my opinion. Then I think Jacksonville versus Oakland is going to be a terrible game. I mean, Terrell Pryor is the only interesting match, and is he in himself alone making me waste my time watching this football game? No, he's not, unless he was on my fantasy team, which he's not. Raiders are going to win this game. They're going to blow out the Jags. The Jags are going to have the first overall pick this year. So hello, Teddy Bridgewater, the Jaguars. That's all I got to say about the Jaguars. And then the big games, the rivalry games. Sunday night are definitely the best game of the week. San Francisco versus Seahawks. The NFL's best rivalry today, in my opinion, and in most people's opinions. Obviously, the Ravens and Steelers were the one before that, but these teams are going to go at it. I like the 49ers to win this game. The Seahawks only scored 12 points against the Panthers defense. How are they supposed to do it right against the 49ers? I just don't see it. I think Colin Kaepernick's going to outplay Russell Wilson, even though Russell Wilson had a great game. It's going to be close. I mean, because both defenses are electric. I expect this to actually be a low-scoring game. They're both going to pound the ball with Frank Gore and Marshawn Lynch. These two teams are so similar. That's why the rivalry is going to be such a good one to watch. Both 1-0 teams. A lot's riding on this game, but I'm going to go with the pick of the San Francisco 49ers based on the quarterback matchup and kind of what they did last week. The 49ers did some good things against a really good Packers defense. Seahawks could not do some really good things against a Panthers defense that's just as good as the Packers, if not better. So I think the Seahawks are going to lose that game. I think the San Francisco 49ers will start off 2-0. I think they're the best team in that division. But that's going to be such a fun game to watch. Two very similar teams. And, well, let's see who's going to shave their eyebrows between Colin Kaepernick and Russell Wilson. I don't know if that's a real bet. I saw that on a Madden thing. I don't know if that's real, but we'll find out. And then the Monday night game, Pittsburgh versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati's going to blow them out of the park. And that's not saying that Pittsburgh's bad, because they were my Super Bowl pick, people, for literally not only 2 weeks ago. They were my Super Bowl pick. They had pieces in place. They remind me a lot of what they were. Their second Super Bowl year in this decade. I just thought they had it. They're going back to that ground and pound defense, but then offense, and then they lose Mike Pouncey last week against a Cincinnati team that has a super tough defense with a great defensive line. And the Steelers' offensive line is supposed to protect Rosberg. I don't see that happening. It's going to be a low-scoring game. Remember what happened last year in Pittsburgh? Cincinnati pulled out the big win, and I think they're going to do it again this week on Monday Night Football. And get a big win and start off 1-1, and the Steelers will be in that hole at 0-2. So that's going to do it for today's NFL Experts podcast, Week 2 preview. Thanks for joining me again. I'm your host, Louis DB. Follow me on Twitter at DBSportsTalk for all your NFL updates. Follow Dave at DaveChrisSports. He will be on the podcast tomorrow for the Fantasy Focus edition of the show, as well as our new debate show on all32access.weebly.com. That'll be this Saturday. We'll have that up on the website. And then again, Mondays are our recaps. We're having daily podcasts Mondays are our NFL experts recaps of the week. Tuesdays are our power rankings. Every other week we're doing the power rankings. As really kind of doing it week by week is kind of not enough to really get a good basis off of it. Wednesdays are the wager battles. We just posted our least recent one, and me, Dave, and Brendan get a little bit heated and get into debates in that one. So go check that out at NFLExperts.blogspot.com or YouTube.com/NFLExperts. We're keeping score for the wagers, so make sure to follow that. And then Thursdays are our previews, as we're doing right now. So I'll let you guys go. Thanks for listening, and have you guys yourselves a great football day, and enjoy week 2. Starting off with tonight, Jets Patriots. Not really go Pats because I like Geno Smith, but let's hope for a good game, and we'll see.